Welcome on board the Rich Planet Starship, broadcasting from somewhere high above the Earth. I'm Richard D. Hall. A few weeks ago I travelled to North London and met Tony Kilvert. Tony's been researching alternative knowledge for the last 10 years and has been attempting to put pieces of the puzzle together regarding the origins of mankind and uncover knowledge which has been hidden from the human race for millennia. Today I'm in North London and I've met for the first time Tony Kilvert. Welcome, Tony.
Thank you. Cheers.
And Tony has worked in a variety of industries throughout his life, but about 10 years ago he basically switched off his television set and began to research. We're going to start by going back to sort of the Anunnaki, because I interviewed a researcher called Lloyd Pye who believes that the human race was kind of put here a few 100,000 years ago by some other bipedal type race that manufactured us. What have you learned about the Anunnaki and the origins of man in your research, Tony?
In a nutshell, we were created or genetically engineered from the best of what I can gather, from the Anunnaki DNA and from a hominoid species that lived on Earth, basically. Right. A lot of our DNA has been turned off by, I understand, the Pleiadians. The
Pleiadians is another alleged
co-creating race.
Co-creating race from the Pleiades star system.
Yeah,
okay.
Indeed.
All right, carry on. So there's been more than one, intervention.
Interference. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So take it from there. I mean, did they build the pyramids, or were they the Atlanteans? How does that fit in?
When you say they, you mean the Anunnaki? Or
yeah,
you mean
the Anunnaki.
The Anunnaki. They may well have built the pyramids. I couldn't be accurate on that one. I can't tell you that for sure. But the Anunnaki that I understand, I mean, a lot of this information is out there, but basically the Anunnaki were the ones from heaven to earth fell.
Fallen angels.
Fallen angels. Their home planet, as I understand it to be Planet X or Nibiru, has a 33-degree elliptical orbit that comes in every, I think it's 26,000 years. Now the Nibiruans, or Anunnaki, actually use gold to protect their atmosphere because they're in a long elliptical orbit. The gold is put into the atmosphere to keep the heat into the planet. Now, there was an uprising by the Anunnaki because they didn't want to have to mine their own gold. They basically created the human race to do it for them. They made several Adams, and the first Adam was way too smart for his own good, so they decided to turn off his DNA. They did all sorts of things like splitting the brain into two hemispheres, dislocating the atlas at the back of the neck, and many, many other tweaks and changes.
To kind of make us intelligent enough to take instruction and carry out orders, but not intelligent enough to decide our own destiny, I guess.
Absolutely. They needed a slave race. Yeah. And this is why the human being, or that's their plan for the human race, to mine gold for the Anunnaki.
Now, where I stand on this, I'm quite very much on the side of the fact that the Anunnaki came in and there was some genetic tampering, where I'm possibly not as Nibiru, I'm not convinced is in our solar system. I think they may have come from beyond there, but that's another story about Nibiru. It's probably more controversial than, I would say, than the Anunnaki, perhaps.
Yeah.
Would you say?
Absolutely.
And you've looked into what the Holy Grail is. I mean, most people think that the Holy Grail is some like expensive chalice or goblet or something like that. But tell us what you believe the Holy Grail to be.
Well, I started doing some research as every possible subject I could get my hands on, but I started doing some research onto the pyramids themselves, and that led me to many, many understandings of how they work, why they work, what they're there for, the positions that, how they're tuned in, what they're tuned for, what energies operate in them, many, many, many things. And during that course of research on that particular subject, I happened to meet somebody who claimed to be a Knights Templar and had apparently lineage back to the Rosicrucians and all of these type of things. Cutting a long story short, he was quite surprised on how much information I had, and we struck it off quite well because we could communicate on the same sort of subjects. 90% of which he was already aware of, and he'd already studied himself and got access to certain artifacts and things that have been hidden away from the human race because of many reasons.
So the Knights Templar are a secret society, for want of a better word, but they had a particular mission. I mean, if you read on Wikipedia, you'll probably say that they don't exist, or they stopped. I don't know which century it was that they supposedly ceased to exist, but they've and maybe spawned some of the more modern secret societies, perhaps.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So you believe that the likes of the Knights Templar were hiding certain things from the human race from a certain time?
Yes, absolutely.
And what do you believe that they were set up to hide then?
Well, the Holy Grail being one, many artifacts from the crucifixion.
Right.
One of the most important is the knowledge that accompanies this whole subject. The Knights Templar were actually the sovereign military order of Christ. Now, one of the founding reasons for the Knights Templars was to take that knowledge and keep it hidden from mankind until the time of Jesus' return.
Right.
Whereby that information will be given to everybody, similar to how it says in the Bible.
Would you include the Ark of the Covenant in this?
Yes, it's part of the hidden information.
Right.
Absolutely.
And do you believe that these artifacts are involved in creating energy? Or
I believe that the Ark of the Covenant was a capacitor, yes, that drew energy out from the atmosphere.
Right.
And turned it into electricity.
Right. I mean, that sounds very similar to John Searls SEG generator.
Absolutely.
So it's something along those lines, you think, that is inside the Ark of the Covenant. So it's advanced technology.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Developed by who?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure if I know the answer.
Right.
But,
all right, but probably, but not mankind though.
No,
not
it's
Homo sapien.
Mankind. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now let's just talk about the pyramids for a second, because I've believed for many years that the pyramids are not there for aesthetic purposes, that they have a function. They are some kind of machine. When you look at the way that some of the stone channels are cut inside, and the way that the stones interlock, and there's so many channels in there, which they're obviously not walkways because they're too small. The list goes on and on and on and on as to why they appear to be a machine.
Yes.
Now, just describe for us what the pyramids, because you described this for me last night very eloquently, what the pyramids would have looked like when they were built, including what was on the top, which is a key part of this.
Quite literally.
Yeah.
Well, when the pyramids were in their prime, shall we say, they were encased in marble, polished marble.
Yeah.
Now, if you imagine you go into the desert and you see the heat rising off the desert floor, what you'll actually see is a reflection of the sky.
Yeah.
So if you were looking at an actual pyramid from a distance in Egypt when they were in their prime.
The Giza pyramid when it was built, yeah.
For an example, not
yeah.
just that, but many others.
All right.
What you would actually see from a distance is, as the heat was rising up, you wouldn't be able to see the land, and as the sides of the pyramids were all finely polished, what you'd get is a reflection of the sky.
Right.
So you wouldn't see the pyramid itself,
yeah.
but you would just see the capstone, which is the key to the pyramids, on just sitting in the sky.
It would look like it was floating in the air.
Beautiful.
You wouldn't. Pretty incredible. Now we come on to what you believe the capstone was when it was, because obviously if you look at the pyramids now, they've got this kind of flat piece on the top where you think, well, most people say, well, there was a capstone there, which was just the end bit of the pyramid, but you believe there was something on top of there. So
absolutely.
Describe what that was, Tony.
We always see, even on the dollar bill, you've got the missing capstone of the pyramid,
which generally has a little gap.
Absolutely.
Which people say signifies the you know, the them and us, they have the all-seeing eye, or they have the knowledge and the masses don't. I guess it's sort of a... Yeah.
That's pretty much correct, but it goes way, way beyond that. None of the pyramids in the world at the moment are finished, as it were. In other words, they're not complete.
Mm-hmm.
They've all been desecrated, destroyed, blown up, anything to get rid of the information.
To stop them functioning as their original...
As they were originally
right, okay.
intended.
And this thing on the top is the key to its function.
Absolutely.
So, to describe it physically, and then we'll show an image on the screen when you're describing it, what you believe the top of the finished pyramid was.
What the information that I gained from this particular gentleman that we met, and it actually correlates now, having done lots and lots and lots more research into it, was that one of the pieces of technology that was hidden was the Holy Grail, together with many, many other things. And it turns out that the Holy Grail is in fact a Merkaba with a gold Merkaba.
A solid gold Merkaba.
Solid gold Merkaba.
Now, if we consider a tetrahedron, which is a triangle, an equilateral triangle in 3 dimensions, with another tetrahedron inside it, that's essentially what a Merkaba is. It's a geometrically perfect sort of shape.
Absolutely. It resonates with the energy of creation itself.
Right. So you've got this solid gold Merkaba, and go on, how does that fit into the top of the pyramid?
What we've got is a solid gold Merkaba, which is basically on the top, and we've got 4 skirts which come off the Merkaba.
Solid gold as well?
Yes, solid gold as well. Right. And it's geometrically positioned so that when the actual Holy Grail, which is what it is, sits on the surface, on the top, the very capstone of the pyramid, it then activates the pyramids as to what their real purpose is and what they were intended for, built for, and that encompasses a lot of different things.
Right. Now, if you were to take the Holy Grail off the top of the pyramid and turn it upside down, it kind of represents a cup.
A chalice.
A chalice.
A grail.
Which is what...
Which is how it's been turned 180 degrees.
Right. Now, okay, so how does that then activate the pyramid?
Not only are they aligned to mirror the stars, they're also aligned to true north, which is the energy fields. I mean, everybody can accept that we have this thing called the atmosphere that goes around the globe itself. We have a North Pole and a South Pole, which creates an energy field.
Magnetosphere, or the Earth's magnetic
stratosphere, you know, atmosphere. They're all different layers of the same onion, if you like. But they all come out of the North Pole and go in through the South Pole, for example. Now, so what we've got are the pyramids that are sat in certain positions, aligned into the actual grid, facing directly mirroring the star systems. So we've got something here, and this something is, well, yes, you know, they are connected to energy lines. Well, yes, they are actually reflections as above, so below of the Orion star system, or Orion's belt. So there must be some kind of reason for that, mustn't there?
Right, yeah.
Well, the reason for that is that what you do when you complete the pyramid, i.e. put on the capstone, and this is the one, you connect the whole grid. You connect with the magnetosphere, you connect with the Earth's energy ley lines, you connect with the cosmic energy which is coming out through the whole solar system. You've got a black hole in the centre of the solar system, and these waves actually come off and go through space, through the centre of the universe. So what you're doing on multiple levels, you're connecting in with the energies of the Earth, the cosmos, and the key is the energy of creation. Right. Because what this Merkaba actually does is it channels, again, the Merkaba is set onto the Holy Grail in a given position, so that when it's put onto the pyramid, it automatically seats itself into the right position.
Yes.
And what that does is it's the key to bring in the energy of creation down from the cosmos and into the Earth's energy grids. So you're bringing in heaven down through the pyramid into the Earth.
Now, what about non-religious people here, Tony? They'll, as soon as you say the word heaven, people who want to describe it in purely scientific terms, are you talking about actual energy, as in physics? You know, like work energy coming down through this Merkaba into the Earth, or, I mean...
Let me explain it this way. If I'm constructed of atoms. Those atoms initially were in one form. Let's call it, they were in potatoes, in meat, in food that I've eaten, and stuff like this. I started out as a baby this big, and I got bigger and bigger and bigger because I was absorbing energy, absorbing food, water, whatever. Now that came from somewhere else, which came from the sun, and came from vegetables, and came from animals, which are also grazing on energy.
Yeah.
So energy is in fact matter.
Yes.
And all matter came originally from above, as in the sun. So people can accept that the sun makes plants, we eat the plants, we get the energy, we grow bigger, so we absorb energy.
Right.
And it's exactly the same as the earth. The earth absorbs energy from the sun, we can all accept that. Well, that's what these pyramids were doing. They were the keys to opening up massive flows of energy to come down to the earth.
All right.
It's not just energy from the sun, there's the energy of creation itself. And that's the key. The Merkabahs are the key, because once you've got that key, you understand how creation can form into the earth and how we can bring heaven from heaven above back down into the earth by activating these pyramids.
So you're saying that really heaven could be considered in just not the kind of thing where there's people sitting just playing harps, but it's an energy source, in other words.
Yeah, it's a state.
Or is it a bit more than that?
It's a state of enlightenment. It's a state of understanding.
Right.
It encompasses everything. But in order to try and answer that question, I have to look at the world that we're sitting in today, and I have to look at the problems that we've got today in order to understand euphoria.
Yeah.
In other words, if we were free as a bird, we had all the truth, all of that hidden knowledge that's been hidden away, we wouldn't have war, famine, disease, drought. We certainly wouldn't have money. We'd have free energy, free travel. We'd have literal, unbelievable technology.
Right.
Now, in order for us to experience life under all this crap, for want of a better word, they had to turn off all our sources of connecting ourselves to the energy of creation, or our psychic self, our spiritual self. All of this had to be cut off in order for us to have this experience as human beings.
So at some time when these pyramids were functioning, however long ago that was, I mean, it's probably debatable in itself.
It is debatable.
Do you think that there were pyramids all over the world in a grid?
There are.
All working together with their own capstones on. So would they be communicating with other pyramids around the grid and then to somewhere out in space, or?
If you remember what I said earlier, the pyramids were sitting on energy lines that go straight across the Earth.
Right.
We can also look at Sedona and Mars. There's pyramids on Mars, there's pyramids on the Moon, there's pyramids on all these other planets. All of those planets are giving and receiving energy from each other. And I'm talking outside of Earth, because all the ones on Earth have been turned off. They've been literally decapitated to make sure that that energy doesn't get down here, which is why we eat food and we try, we do loads of things to try and get the energy, because the energy is no longer being channeled down into Earth. It's been cut at the top.
All right, Tony, we'll just pause it there. We're going to go for a short break, but we're going to continue to talk a little bit more about the pyramids, and then we'll move on to secret societies and money after the break.